Welcome to the Resume Storyteller, bringing you interviews with industry experts, regular folks who tested the job search waters and succeeded, and strategies to tell your story and land you job interviews. Here's your host, Virginia Franco.
Hey guys, I have with me one of my favorite people, sales job search expert, Claire Davis. I love her bio. I'm going to start reading it. Sometimes life hands you lemons, and Claire Davis led a successful medical sales, marketing, and recruiting career and survived 4 consecutive company-wide layoffs. Each challenge, though, provided her with valuable lessons around what sales leaders must do to land the 6-figure roles they want, despite the odds. Today, she shows sales leaders how to steer their career advancement and make more money with custom resumes, LinkedIn profiles, and job strategies that work. Her methods are not grounded in theories or in books, but they're battle-tested to help job seekers stand out in very competitive arenas. Claire, thank you so much for coming on this officially. You and I have done Clubhouse together. We've been on a couple things together, but this is the first time doing this podcast, so thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Virginia. It is my pleasure. I'm beyond thrilled to be chatting with you today.
So what I love about you is that you know a ton of sales and you have been through the ringer with on the sales front with your job situation, your careers. Give me a quick overview of how you came to be in this position, like how you decided to really help support job seekers.
Oh, sure. So I will admit that I'm somewhat of an accidental entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you where it began. Right. I feel like this happens to many of us. And I think I've pinpointed after chatting about it and describing it a couple times where I think I know where it all went this way. So I made one big mistake right out of college. I had the wonderful opportunity to go to Ohio University and study marketing. And I landed a marketing gig right out the gate, which I absolutely loved out in Sacramento. But the first thing I did when I got my new desk was I bought a plant. And I think this is
like a green plant, like the water. Okay.
I bought a tiny potted plant. I decked out my cubicle. And I even remember it's this very tricky fern, which now I realize it's a difficult one to keep alive, but it's called the maidenhair fern. Anyway, it's a beautiful plant. And I was so proud of my workspace and having landed this job that I love. So I decorated this cubicle as if I would live in this role at this
put down roots
forever. I did. I hung lights. I had a framed picture, which actually I don't remember how I fixed to the side of my cubicle, probably a menagerie of text. But, I bought that plant in the sense that with the idea that I would be there forever. And I think that was sort of the first blow, because 6 months later, when I was called into the office on a Friday and given my walking papers because of a downturn in the economy in 2008, it was very clear to me that I put the cart before the horse a little bit, and I think a lot of people can find themselves in that place uniquely in this decade, because 2020 being what it was, the career is something that is now more of a, it's not a constant. It's not the gold watch 20, 30 year place anymore when you find a company that you love, even if it's the company that you feel like you'll be with forever. So what I didn't know, Virginia, and now I know that you know, is that this would be my first of 4 layoffs. Wow. And that's why I sort of fell into this business, this accidental entrepreneurship sort of found me, because I became sort of the big sister to friends and family and coworkers.
You were the, oh God, I lost my job, talk to Claire, she's been through it person.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it ended up being that very familiar phone call of, oh, so-and-so's husband, got laid off. Oh, talk to Claire, right? Or so-and-so, has this had this great quarter in sales, and then they upped her quota the next month and it's impossible to reach. And she's really stressed out. Go talk to Claire. She's definitely done that. Right. And it became this sort of wonderful litany of connecting with people in this very challenging situation. And it was almost therapeutic for me because I realized, okay, as traumatic as those times were, I'm not alone. A lot of people go through this. And so Traction Resume was born at much insistence from my dear husband, because he said, if you're going to write every Tom, Dick, and Harry's resume, you should probably be charging for it. And that's how Traction Resume began way back in 2015.
I love that. Well, you're ahead of me. I didn't know anyone did it for a living, and I wrote for free for over a decade. So,
oh God.
But your story is just so encouraging for others, because you're right. People aren't alone. People can have a great year and then still get laid off the next year. You're only as good as sort of what your most recent stuff shows. And sometimes it's even beyond that. It has nothing to do with your performance. So,
right.
And that's a tough lesson to learn, because when we were growing up, that wasn't something that really happened. You got laid off for cause or performance, and that was it.
Yeah. My grandfather was in the gas industry out in West Virginia, and gas and mining for near 50 years.
Wow.
His wife worked at the local school in between raising her 5 children for 40 years. It was just that thing, as you find this company in your town, you pay your dues, you do your schooling, you go to work, and then you retire when you're done.
And you stick around.
It's
I'm an IBM kid. My dad immigrated here, barely spoke English, took a test to get a job, and IBM moved him around. We moved all over the place, and even to another country, but he stayed until he left. And there was no expectation that he would ever look anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I know you work with other people besides sales, but I really want to drill down on a lot of these questions with the sales lens. Is there something that you sort of see as sort of common or major challenges that are facing people in sales that are having to test the job search waters, or maybe make a pivot that was unexpected? Are there sort of commonalities that you're seeing them come across?
Oh yeah. And, and I know, you have given me so much insight over the years with how I approach clients. And I think one of the things that I really enjoy about connecting with you and other writers is that there is this very quick understanding once you're in this space that if I could take every single resume out there from every single different career path, I couldn't. There's just one of me, right? So for me, it made sense to really niche down to what I really like to do and what I know. And so sales for me became sort of just this natural conversation because I enjoyed being in sales myself. And so what's interesting to me, though, is that when I first opened my business, it was about 6 months in, and I got a call from my previous manager. Now, he was an impressive sales manager. He was one of those people who would get a totally chaotic team of rambunctious youngsters with dreams and get them to march to the beat of a single drum.
Wow.
And he called me completely unsure how to work a job search and write a resume. And I thought to myself, oh my God, this man taught me nearly everything I know about sales and marketing too, for that matter. And he's coming to me wanting to know how to sell and market himself. And I thought, oh my God, this is the missing link. This is the missing link for salespeople. You've got these incredibly passionate, vulnerable, diehard salespeople who are just committed.
They know how to market products and services, right?
Exactly. But when it comes to their own story or using the power that they already harness or they already practice for their own means, they haven't thought about it that way. It's almost like they go to the training for their specific product and and they learn how to be really great in sales for somebody else. But when it comes to their own story and or their own career advancement, they forget you can use all of that for yourself. So here's an example. We would always go to these big sales meetings, usually out at some like hotel, airport hotel out in Dallas, or like some giant place with a ballroom. And we'd all sit there in our pods and we would listen to this top salesperson of the year. And what they always wanted the top salesperson of the year to talk about would be their unique style and what's bringing them business. So I remember this one gentleman going up and he stood up there and he said, I've developed the 5 and 5. You work on 5 connections with 5 specific people, and then you move them through your funnel. And after you get those 5 specific connections with each of those 5 people, you add 5 more, because by then you're developing a really sound, beautiful relationship. So
sounds like job search.
Exactly, right? But if we're not geared to be thinking or having to think about our job search, we would never connect those dots of, oh, and that's also an amazing way to network while I still have a job for the next one. So it's really fun for me to work with salespeople because they come with such unique drive and expertise in sales. And I get to this, joy out of helping them translate what they already know. Because these people are smarter than me. They work harder than me. They're incredible. And all I have to do is help them see that what they're already great at can be used for their own good. And that's why I love it.
Yeah, because job search fundamentally it's a giant sales and marketing campaign.
Yep.
Soup to nuts. I get that creating their own marketing collateral is probably hard. And in sales, usually there's a marketing department that does that. But aside from that, the rest of job search really, to me, should be the most intuitive to people that are in sales and marketing.
Yeah, I think so too. And, there's so many ways that, for example, medical sales is a very difficult sale, especially now, because you literally can't get into most hospitals and medical offies.
Right.
Within the
barrier's so tough right now.
Days.
I know.
So it's like, okay, but see, sales folks have always been presented with that kind of a challenge. You've got a physician who's seeing 100 patients per day. How do you find a way and the will to get that physician to spend some time with you to talk about a product they're not using yet, right? So that comes with its whole host of strategy and challenges. And so many of those can be used directly in the job search when you're trying to reach a seemingly untouchable hiring manager.
You're right. They are salespeople, especially in healthcare. You're right. They are great at overcoming obstacles and getting past those gatekeepers.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
I love that. So what advice, I do work a lot with sales folks as well. And a lot of people that a lot of people are saying, I want to get into medical device, that or tech sales, just because I think because of the salary potential. Do you work with people, or what advice do you give to people that are thinking about making a move into sales?
That is my bread and butter. I love working with people who want to get into sales. I think the first piece is mindset, and in 2 ways. Number 1, everyone needs to realize that what they do should be something that's at the cross section between what they're good at, where they get results, and what they really enjoy. So, before we were recording today, Virginia, you and I were talking about different styles of exercise, right?
Yes.
So the only ones that are going to last, the only ones that we're going to stick with are the ones that, yes, get results because, we believe in getting something out of that time we spend exercising, but also, and even more importantly, things that we enjoy.
Yeah, because you're right. You're right. No matter how good it is for you, you're not going to do it if you hate it.
100%. That's why I try my hardest to be regular about it. I'm not always, but I love to jump rope. I have forever. And so it wasn't until someone unlocked that for me and said, Claire, if you love to jump rope, make that your thing. And so that's now my thing.
No way.
Yes. There might be roots in a competitive traveling jump rope team, but we can talk about that on the next podcast.
Oh my goodness. I love that. My son did jump roping. He was on jump rope team in elementary school.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Was he the one that was like doing the flips into the jump rope?
No, he was trying though, but yeah, no.
That's pretty legit. We're going to have a whole other show about that.
So if someone wants to, or they want to jump into sales, or maybe they're in sales and they want to pivot into a different kind of sale, what advice do you have for them to sort of get started?
Well, first, it's all about getting focused on the opportunity that you want next. And I know you know this so well, and I know this is the way you coach your clients too. The one area that I see a lot of folks, salespeople included, though a lot of times they've already made this mental shift, is that folks need to focus on their results. And the thing is, when you're working with people who've got 5, 10 plus years of experience, they've accomplished a lot. Even people who've been in it for less than 5 years have accomplished enormous, wonderful things in their life. And where I see a lot of resumes falling flat and not serving the people that they're written about is when they focus so much on the, chronological history and all the responsibilities they've ever done, so that they think that if somebody looks at this, they will say, wow, this person can do it all, right? But I've been playing guitar since college. Okay. And I'm not going to date myself, but I will say it's been more than 10 years since I graduated college. But could I play you a full song and read the music to do it? No. So that's why we can't rely on responsibilities. We've got to talk results. Because if somebody was like, great, you've been playing 10 years, can you go and, play at my wedding? My answer would have to be no. And so the same thing is important with a resume. So when people are trying to pivot into sales, period, or they're trying to pivot into a different kind of sales, first they've got to focus on the results. And a really easy way for everybody listening to do this right now with any of their professional branding, including their resume, is to look at the bullets and at the end, write in 2 words. If you can write resulting in at the end of every bullet point, it will help to refine every single piece of information on your resume. And sometimes that information is already there.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So sometimes, sometimes there are great bullets, right? You're talking about your results and say you've got that stuff dialed. But if you can answer resulting into every piece of your resume, then you know that you're not only telling people what you know how to do, you're helping them create this image in their mind of what they can receive from you by bringing you aboard. And that's the whole point of a resume. So then say you want to go into a different kind of sales. So you look at these results and you look at the opportunity at hand, you do your research and you see what they're interested in. And then you find that cross section of where do my results overlap with what this company is asking for? How can I make their life easier? And what have I done already that would tackle that problem for them? And I think that's the best way to pivot.
I agree with that, because when you show accomplishments and you have context with what you're doing, is you're showing the responsibility, but you're showing the impact of it. And most people, when they read them, then it's natural for them to say, oh, well, that's what I need too. It shows you suddenly have made that bullet transferable to whatever the pivot is you're trying to make.
Yeah.
I love that. So ask yourself resulting in at the end of every bullet and see if it's been answered by the bullet. If it's not, put it in there. And then you rewrite the bullet, but at least you're making sure that you answer that. I love that. And
I love the word you used there, impact, right? And I don't want anyone to feel intimidated by this process, by this resulting in exercise, because really, whenever you are challenged by something, I truly deeply believe this. Whenever we're challenged by something or we don't quite have it yet, that's just a signal. It's a signal to say, if I can't say resulting in, if I can't answer that question yet, I just have a little homework to do.
That's right.
Or
that's right.
I want to do a little more digging there and really show them. And so I hope it's not intimidating to everybody.
No, I love that. And I've heard
exercise.
people say like, well, that you're supposed to answer so what, but I think resulting in sounds kinder.
Oh,
yeah.
Me too. So what's something my kids would say.
Right. Exactly. But no, and that's easy to do. And when you run out of responses, then you know that you have answered that bullet comprehensively.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you've sort of given me some great answers for, or support for people that are looking to make a move and they haven't yet, they're just starting their job search. What about that person who comes to you and they have been job hunting and it's not going well? How do you help them regroup and refocus? What advice would you have for them?
Such a great question. And first, regrouping is key. I remember the first time I was laid off, it was a really dark place. It was so uncertain.
Yeah.
And I didn't learn my lesson once. I had to learn it twice because I went back and worked for that company again and got laid off a second time. So then I left for good.
Oh my goodness.
But, first you do have to regroup, and you have to, there's a couple ways that I have found worked for me. One, I had to go back and look at the things at the previous job that I really liked doing. Because generally, when there were things I really liked doing, the results naturally flowed. Because I was so invested in the project because it was fun. It was fun to do.
Okay.
And
so
whatever is fun.
The performance came easy because it didn't feel like a chore.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So I would say go back and think about the enjoyable experiences that you had at whichever companies you worked for prior.
Okay.
And the second piece of advice I would have is not to try and change everything at once. One thing I see that gets really frustrating for folks, especially if they're out of work, is they're on LinkedIn, they're getting these great tips from all these great coaches, and they're like, okay, I'm going to suddenly start like a massive engagement strategy, and I'm going to overhaul all my documents, and I'm going to light the world on fire, XYZ. Mm-hmm. And then a week later, they're putting up a post that's like, I'm completely burned out. I don't know what to do, and I'm sad. And that is completely natural because that kind of momentum can't be sustained. So I would recommend to try something new, but not reinvent the entire wheel right away. So, for example, look at your strengths and look at what served you in the past. So for me, I love to talk to people. I love to network with people naturally. I'm the annoying woman in the grocery store making friends while we're at the checkout line. Like, okay. That's definitely me.
Okay.
I know this to be true because now my 4-year-old, when we go to the park, he doesn't run to the swings. He runs to the nearest adult to start a conversation. That's so funny. I know this is unique.
Yeah. Apple tree. Got it. Okay.
So I would say first, which part of your previous roles did you enjoy and worked for you? And maybe start focusing on that thing. So if that's up your alley, start making connections on LinkedIn and start conversations with people at companies where you're interested.
Okay.
If that's not it, maybe you're more of an analyst, right? Or maybe you're really into systems. Then start putting together a system for yourself to support you as you move through your job search. So maybe you know that you have to identify 5 companies every week, and you want to reach out to 3 people at those companies. So you're going to create this spreadsheet with reminders and automation. Whatever serves you, use it. And then change that one thing and focus on it. Practice it for a little bit and see where it gets you. And then the final piece is use LinkedIn like nobody's business. There is so much information out there online. And that's great because, effectively, we could all be experts in everything. But on LinkedIn, there are a lot of coaches and a lot of mentors who are really willing to respond to those DMs, to respond to the comments on their posts where they're leaving really actionable advice. And that's where I find people can succeed if they get curious enough. So those are the three things I would say.
So I love that. And what is cool about LinkedIn is whether going back to your step 2. So let's say you are a great networker. LinkedIn is the world's greatest CRM to help that along. If you are more of an analyst, LinkedIn is the world's greatest CRM to get lots of intel and allow you to do the analysis you need to really do the research and the homework. So it's it's a multi-purpose tool.
It's so true. In fact, just using it might unlock your brilliance in a particular area. Now the newest thing is video interviews. Like I just worked with another client the other day who has been asked to interview to a live recorded question, but there's nobody on the other end of the screen.
Oh, they're doing one-way AI interviewing.
Oh God. I mean, not my cup of tea, but I know there are many candidates out there. So this is how this particular company is looking to get it done. But the thing is, by going on a place like LinkedIn, you can find people who will tell you exactly how to be excellent at that particular thing with just a quick search of some key terms. So, really people always say, people always say finding a job is a job, right? Finding a job is a job in itself. And it's true. But I think a lot of folks stop at the meaning of that being that it's a job in the sense that it requires so much work. But really, if you think of it as finding a job is a job in itself, because you can identify what you're naturally good at work and make that work for you, that's a different thing. That's when things start to happen. So if video is your game.
And that feels a lot less overwhelming to start with the parts of job search that you're naturally good at. And see how far that can carry you. That's really good. Yeah, no, this one-way interviewing stuff is no joke. My son he's right out of college, but when he was interviewing with all these Fortune 100 banks, they were all using them.
Oh, wow. Oh, painful.
Whole new world.
Painful.
No, such good advice. Okay, so next question. What about those people that come to you with, they're at that crossroads where they have lots of different skills. They're super diverse and they're like, well, I could do this or I could do that or I could do the other. What are your thoughts on people that are multi-skilled and very, very open to what they want to do next?
Yes, I love these people. So I love to term these people multipassionate, as I am.
I like that.
As I think we all are, really. And what I have to say to everybody listening who feels that they fall into this bucket of being multi-passionate is that you are well suited to do any of those things well and to succeed if you focus on one at a time, or maybe a couple at a time. So for them, I find the best results are going to be when it can be a focused effort toward one of your passions, right? Because if we try to do too many things, if I try to be great on LinkedIn and in my business and on Twitter and on Facebook, and you can't be everything all the time. Now, there can be a lot of the elements that you love in one job. And if you can find that, amazing. But probably, unless you're the CEO and running your own business, you'll probably be, focusing in one area of the business. So for these people, I like to play a game called the postit party. And it sounds really cheesy, and it is. And I get cheesier as the day goes on.
All right, anybody knows me.
So a postit party is where essentially you grab a giant stack of Post-its and you start writing down. You take 5 minutes at a time for each role that you've had at each company. And you take 5 minutes and you write down as fast as you can the biggest results that you got there. The stuff you're really, really proud of. And it doesn't have to be, well thought out. It could be a quick jotted down message. It could be something with a number attached to it or not, because you can find that later. But you get all these results on your Post-its and you throw them up on your wall. And then you start connecting the dots. Because the reality is we're all multi-passionate. I love to play music badly and jump rope and write resumes and do marketing and faux finish interior walls, but I can't do them all at one time. So what I do is you look at this smattering of results you now have on your wall, and you start connecting the dots, right? What starts making sense to you in your career that one, you really enjoyed? What was easy for you? What results keep coming up? Are you banding together disjointed teams?
Okay. So find those common threads that way.
Exactly. And those are the kind of things that you start grouping in your mind, and then start thinking of the companies you're after and the roles you're after. Which of your strengths play to that company or what they're looking for? The posted party, or the results posted party, whatever you want to call it, has really been helpful for a lot of people. And if anyone is struggling with getting their results down on paper, which I'll just be honest, is hard for folks who are new to their career, just as it is for people at the C-level and 100%. Those who have their own company. Mm-hmm. So nobody feel, right? I mean, I know, Virginia, you've seen it 100,000 times, right? Nobody feel like they are behind.
So hard to write your story. The best writers, the best marketers, it's hard. It's your own blood, sweat, and tears, 100%.
Totally. We're almost like too close to it. Would you agree?
Agree. Yep.
So I would say do your post-it party. And then if you find something that's really that really you felt stood out in your career and you want to be known for it, and you feel like it was just a knockout result that you got, go find the numbers to support it. That's step 2. And then you'll have some really, really great elements to talk about and to hold right in your heart, so that you know when you're moving to your next step, you want to get more of that. You know what you bring. It's very empowering. It's a good one.
What I love about that is that, and I'm sure you've seen this, when people are looking, when someone is hiring for someone, they are looking for a specialist. Even though once they hire you, chances are they love that you are multi-passionate and they're going to tap into all those other skills. But when they're first looking, they're like, this is my need. Who can fit it? So I love the post-it party exercise, but this helps you to hone in on whatever it is you want to be known for, and hopefully have someone read it and say, well, that's the need I need filled. Mm-hmm. Versus I can do all these things, because people get confused by that when they read.
Yeah. It's good to be able to see it all. And then, like you said, focus it down, group them. Yeah. What makes sense if I'm applying to a project management job, what makes sense to that? That's if right. I'm going for sales,
looking at those might make you go, okay, well, this is the commonality. Maybe I need to focus on these kinds of roles.
Yes.
Versus targeting a bunch of different ones. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that.
Nailed it.
So next question, a little flippant. I don't mean it to be so, but I'd love to hear from you. What drives you most nuts when it comes to job seeker mishaps? Is there sort of one thing where you're like, oh, I can't believe they keep doing this over and over again?
Yes, there is. And, I think that it comes from a place of uncertainty and a place of maybe a small lack of self-confidence, which, listen, when you're on the job market, desperation is abound, right? It's everywhere. You feel it. I felt it every time. It didn't matter how prepared I was for that company to kick me out again.
It's a super unsettling time.
It truly, truly is. So if I'm calling anyone out, know that I'm calling myself out too. But one thing that I see occasionally, and I've been through it myself with clients and friends and family, that drives me nuts, is when somebody puts their name on the line for you, or someone helps create a connection that maybe you needed, or opens a door for job seekers, walk through it. And I don't mean take that job. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But if somebody makes a warm connection for anybody listening, if somebody, builds a bridge to somebody you're looking to know, or makes an opening at a company that maybe isn't even exactly what you're interested in, go explore that thing. There's something that Marie Forleo, who's an incredible entrepreneur, coach, writer, author, host of Marie TV. She's amazing. And I learned a lot from her. And one thing that she told me was, or told everybody, I wish I could say Marie was just talking to me and like over coffee. That'd be amazing. But she said, one thing to ask yourself, when you think you know what you want and you think that maybe new opportunities aren't even worth listening to, stop and ask yourself, what can I learn here? And I do this all the time, because I was definitely for a while that person who was like, I got it. I'm going to keep my head down. I'm not going to keep my eyes. I've got my blinders on. I'm focused. And to a certain degree, focus is really important. But there have been times when information or opportunity was presented to me that I felt like, oh, this would have been really good when I was maybe just starting my business. But I think I'm beyond that now. And now, instead of thinking that way, I listen. Because
don't close any door.
Exactly. You just never know. You never know where opportunity is going to come from. And if somebody extends that olive branch, please take it, follow through, because know that the person who is vouching for you is putting their name on the line. And by not at least exploring that opportunity and then thanking them for doing that, you might be burning a bridge.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't set yourself up that way. Just ask yourself, what can I learn here? Even if you feel like it's not for you, and thank the connection and just,
absolutely.
Bless it and release it.
And even it might be just something teeny tiny that you learned, but I don't think, I'm thinking back to my own experiences. Even if I got the smallest granule of information and it's something where I said, okay, you know what, now I'm certain I don't want to do this. That's still a lesson learned, and you are being respectful to the person that opened that door for you.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. And, I think mostly people want to help other people. People want to help people. People want to help people, and people want to help people they like.
That's true. Yeah,
and if
you're
somebody takes the time to do it, just be sure to honor that and just show a little appreciation, or just say, hey, thanks. I'm going to look into it. Even if it's not something you think could be an amazing opportunity, you just never know.
You never know. No, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, sort of pivoting to completely different topic, but I always want to make sure that I ask this because it's coming up quite regularly now. There's a lot of talk around discrimination, around especially in sales when it comes to hiring practices, from ageism to racism to sexism, like all the isms. What are your thoughts on it in terms of how are you helping job seekers to navigate this? Especially in healthcare sales, especially, I've always heard things around ageism for sure.
Yeah. That's such a brutal reality in many industries, isn't it? And I'm so glad. In fact, I've had the honor now of working with some specific, DEI executives now. And I love that diversity, equity, inclusion, embracing the feminine, support for women and men in the workplace, parents in the workplace. I so love that those things are coming to the forefront during this age, because I look at my kids and think, what's it going to be like when you are in the working world?
Right.
And I hope that things like ageism and sexism and, inclusion are still, are maybe even figured out by then, right?
Who
knows?
Dream,
Hopefully
right?
we'll have it figured out.
Yeah.
That would. But I would say that this is no new problem, right? Yeah. These things have been around for a really long time, as have many, many challenges and unfairnesses in life. And I feel like it's probably how we move forward to create the better environment. It's how we respond to those things that make all the difference in the world. So with that in mind, there's a story I was just thinking of yesterday. I was talking to somebody on LinkedIn. He said, yeah, I was in America, and he's not a US citizen, but he said, I was in America and I had an I Love USA hat on. And people were mocking me in New York. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting. So he goes, this was in relation to, should I put military experience on my resume? For which my answer is 100%. And thank you for your service.
Exactly.
Now, my response to him was, I'm so sorry that you had that experience. However, if it came to a company where I saw those things as a problem, or I was mocked in an interview or treated rudely because of my gender, my age, what part of the world I'm from, that for me is an immediate answer to just walk out the door. And I think that is the way I want job seekers to look at opportunities that don't align with their values. It goes back to the fact that when you're in that job seeking space and you're feeling like desperate, and you've got to pay bills. I mean, let's be real. Being a job seeker is no fun. Right? It sucks. And can I say that on your podcast?
You can say it. Yes, you may.
I think it's a terrible feeling, right? It can be a terrible feeling. It can be a feeling full of opportunity, but a lot of times that sneaky little imposter syndrome will creep in, and you just have to keep it at bay.
Yeah.
But if opportunities present themselves, please, job seekers, anyone listening to this, don't feel that you have to change your values to meet a companies that you don't believe in.
You'll be miserable. You're right. You have to. And what I think is good about a lot of the exploration exercises that you've referenced is that it helps you to get clear on what you're good at, what your deal breakers are, what's important to you, what's not, so that you can determine, this is going to require me to have to make too many changes, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we have an opportunity to shape the future of work. And sometimes that's just by, either accepting or not accepting what's currently happening.
Yeah, no, agree. I love that. Okay. Second to last question for you. Let's say someone comes up to you in the grocery store and they find out what you do for a living and they say, oh, all right, I'm going to start looking for a job. What are 2 things that I absolutely have to have? What tools would you say are musts for them?
Well, first of all, they need to listen to Virginia Franco's podcast.
Ding, ding, ding.
First of all, I would say, are you on LinkedIn? Because the reality of the workforce now is that every candidate that I know of and every recruiter I connect with, they look up their candidates 100% of the time before they're hired. And so the thing is, if you don't have a filled out LinkedIn profile, you really need to get it filled out. Even if it's not beautiful, just be present and get your information on there. Even if it just sits because you're not comfortable with posting quite yet. And that's a
static
whole other
page, right?
Exactly. Just be there. And the reason is they're looking for you anyway. And your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So when someone goes to your profile and you haven't filled it out, or maybe the information is super old, or it's you listed that you worked for Enron at one time and you're like, I should have updated that. Like it's very clear these days that everybody is looked up online before they are hired. Even if that's supposed to not be the way that it is.
No, they
do.
They search there to find you. They certainly go on LinkedIn to vet. We know that they go to other social media sites to vet you, but at the very least, you need something there that reflects you so that when you're not in the room, you're comfortable with what they're saying.
Exactly. No, I mean, not to mention, what we talked about earlier, which is that once you're on LinkedIn, it's this like explosion of networking and tips and support. And you could run a full court press job search just by watching some of the thought leaders here on LinkedIn and learning from what they share for free, I might add, mostly right there on the platform. So it's almost like a gateway to a great job search
I love that.
Even from the get-go. And the second thing I would recommend is don't go it alone. And this can be taken in a couple of different ways. So if you have other friends who are also seeking a job, right? Or maybe who got recently hired or laid off or whomever it is, just a friend to help keep you accountable and to help to lift your spirits on the times that get a little hard.
Yeah.
It's so worth its weight in gold to not go through that alone. And if you can find someone who will act as a mentor for you in that way, even better. That's why, oh, sorry, Virginia.
No worries.
Oops. Sit on the couch and I'll get you one of those. And so I would say, sit on the couch and I'll get them for you. Okay. The reality is of working from home.
That's right. Exactly.
But I would say find a mentor. Here's an example. This is not an exactly related, job search example, but it's a mentor example. A couple of months ago, our house needed painted badly. And, I'm talking like, it was like 3 different colors on the siding on one side where the sun hit it and baked it all summer, right? Bad. So I thought, okay, I used to refinish interior walls. That was part of my career history. I did some faux finishing. I got this. I'm going to pick some colors that will make this neighborhood swoon, right? So I go to pick a color. It turns out the color I chose was like a hue of salmon. Yeah. And it was awful.
Like pink?
Like pink with white trim. It was like a candy stripe house. It was awful. Not to mention our homes are supposed to all be nature colors. So I thought perhaps not the inside of a fish as the color. But anyway, so I said, okay, back to the drawing board. So I go back and I'm really researching Virginia. I'm looking online. I'm trying to get this down. And I pick another color and it looks awful with the stone. It was like a weird gray and the stone is also gray. And it just looked really like a prison. And I'm like, well, I can't do that either. So the third time, finally, I gave up and I went to Benjamin Moore Paint. Yep. And I said, can you please, God, help me pick a color for this house? And they helped me pick a color. And the reason I bring that up is because after a litany of different colors and not having help and not knowing exactly how to pick a color and how the undertones worked and all of those things, I finally got smart and ended up getting some help, which saved me time and money. And I wish I would have done it in the beginning. Have you had a scenario like that before?
Oh my gosh. Well, not with painting because I wouldn't even try to attempt that on my own, but plenty of times where I'm like, oh, I could do that. And then, yeah, I can, but I do it badly or it takes too long. And that's the story of my life. But you're right. I get that because ideally a mentor who can help to fast track what would otherwise be a laborious process.
Mm-hmm.
It's super helpful. So what color did you decide on your house?
It's called Weimaraner, like the dog.
Like the dog?
And it's a chameleon color. It worked out beautifully. And
lovely.
Thank you to Benjamin Moore. Any Benjamin Moore employees looking for a resume, I will give you a discount. You're done. You just send me an email.
Okay, so your 2 tools then are LinkedIn and get yourself a village, ideally with a mentor in it.
Yes, exactly.
Love that. All right. So very last question. I know you are super busy. You're on Clubhouse. You have your business. Tell me what is next for you as we get ready to look at 2022.
For 2022, I'm hoping to provide more DIY services for job seekers so that they can start using some of the things they learn online and be empowered to put them into the place themselves. I do a lot of one-on-one work and sorry, I've got a
no worries.
Very chatty little baby back there. But so the next thing I'm working on is some DIY stuff. I've got a resume course hopefully coming out probably in the first quarter of 2022.
Okay.
And I'm going to try and help people feel more empowered on video as well.
Oh, gosh,
because
yeah.
I know. I had the absolute fortune of working with Matt Zahn, who's now a dear friend of mine, and we work together. We put this show together on Thursdays called Power Hour. But it really just came about as sort of a wish for an entrepreneurial mastermind. And we thought, well, if we could get enough people on a call to swap ideas, we'd all grow in business. And so it forced me to get more comfortable with public speaking, with sharing a message, with interviewing experts, much my senior and much more accomplished than I am. And I'm really looking forward to sharing those things that I learned so people can use them. Because what we're seeing online is that when it comes to personal branding, or interviewing for that matter, or calling on clients, especially in medical offices, you've got to be compelling on video.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. It is not going anywhere. Yeah.
So just a couple tips to help people feel more confident and to help them to understand, one, why it's important to be able to master a video call with a client, because there are really compelling ways to connect with people through the camera lens. And I want everyone to have accessibility to that.
Oh, that is wonderful. So if people want to keep up with you, reach out to you, I have on the bio your tractionresumes.com website link, and also link to your LinkedIn. I know you have a sales resume template on jobsearchjourney.com for some DIY support. Are there any other places where you would like to shout out in terms of how people can best find you?
Well, most recently, having the template up on Job Search Journey has been amazing. And for anybody listening, I'm sure you've checked it out. And if not, you definitely should. Virginia was part of this incredible trio that created Job Search Journey, which is like the Amazon for job seekers. And it's an amazing idea. So you guys are brilliant for making those resources available at a great
We are so excited, but yeah, her template is specifically for salespeople. It's super affordable. It's like what, $25, $30. It's next to nothing. And it's ATS friendly, which is a lot of templates out there are not. So absolutely great resource. So that's jobsearchjourney.com, then Traction Resumes if you're interested in one-on-one. What about your Clubhouse stuff? When are you on there?
Oh yeah. Well, hopefully this month or next, we're going to start up again, Virginia, you and me.
That's right. We're doing our, that's LinkedIn Live though, right? That's not on Clubhouse. Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, hopefully we could do it live, but if anybody is interested in, not that I don't want to talk resumes all the time, because I do. In fact, my husband is like, thank God you found your resume tribe, because talking about resumes every night at dinner while I love you, honey, isn't my favorite thing.
Yeah.
So we have a show we produce on Thursdays called Power Hour, and it's hearing from business leaders on all kinds of topics, from marketing and sales to yesterday we had a guy speaking to us about innovation and what that kind of looks like in a team and how to develop it, to gratitude practices, and then how to show up on live video better. So you can find that at Power Hour, which is on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn company Power Hour, I think.
Awesome. Well, Claire, thank you so much. I'm going to let you get back to your little one because it sounds like he is demanding your attention. But thank you very, very much. You gave just really great, actionable, practical exercises and tips. Really, really good stuff. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so honored, Virginia. Thank you so much for this and everything that I know you have helped me with. And now I better go find a babysitter.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, Virginia. Bye.
You've been listening to The Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco. To learn more about storytelling strategies to catch the eye of today's online scam hiring and decision makers, please visit www.virginiafrancoresumes.com.